All right, so before we get started real quick, on Monday, we're going to be releasing a podcast that talks about what to do if you made it into quarterfinals.
Yeah, the quarterfinals.
Or if you didn't make it, right?
Yep.
Isn't that right, Max?
Yes, we are. We're going to give some overall thoughts about the Open, talk about what happens if your season just ended, if you finished 23.3 and you didn't make it, and then talk about kind of, okay, well, what's next for quarterfinals? What should I expect? How should I get better at it? How should I prepare? How should I think about it?
All right, carry on.
All righty, 23.3 redo attempts. The Beyond the Whiteboard stats are out. They've been correlating pretty closely to the 90th percentile.
Yeah.
We made a prediction on it, on what's it called?
Golf claps.
Yeah. Silent golf claps. We were pretty close on that. I think we said one snatch for guys was going to be around the 90th percentile.
Yes.
And then we said 15 handstand push-ups. And what it actually ended up coming out as is the getting to the snatches. So 0 snatches. So basically what's your time tiebreaker is going to be the 10% dictator for guys. And for girls, it was 18 handstand push-ups.
Yes. This says, according to Beyond the Whiteboard data right now, 18 handstand push-ups.
Okay. So we're going to talk about redos. We're going to talk as if most people are around that cut line. But remember, the top 10% is not dictated by getting into the top 10% on this workout. It's based on the overall leaderboard. Yeah. So we already have 3 workouts that have posted on the leaderboard. This is number 4. It's only 25% of your total spots. So really improving on this workout, whether it's from like the 10th percentile or from the 90th to the 95th to get you in the overall top 10%, this really is the week that's going to give you the final boost. It's still a quarter of the points left.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they get to the last workout and mentally they're like, I'm not in.
Yeah.
I missed. And the last workout has as much bearing as pretty much any other. It's still a quarter of the total weight of the score. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind is like,
maybe you could be motivated knowing that a lot of other people aren't going to.
Yeah.
Most people, everyone who's not listening to this podcast is going to check out.
Yeah.
Now, are you motivated?
No, I mean, but for real, if somebody's like 70th percentile right now, and then they see this workout come out, they might not have any chance to move up, and it could demotivate them because they're like, oh, whatever, or they can't do handstand push-ups.
What about the athlete who's looking at it and they're like, I can go work really hard right now and I can make it into that, but I'm a little scared that if I do make it, now there's pressure for me to go on and do these quarterfinals, and I don't want to. How would you challenge them to just take on that battle? What kind of advice would you give to them?
I kind of look at it like this, like in that sense, like you need to open the door for yourself, right? Like give yourself the option to say, I'm not going to do it. But if you don't go out and give this last one full effort, then you don't even have the choice. Like you're giving away your choice essentially.
Yeah. You're kind of like pre-accepting failure as opposed to actually failing at something. And there's a lot of learning in failure. I feel like every athlete you see or aspire to be at the top level failed a lot getting up to that point. So it's almost like that's the point. That's why you sign up for competitions, is to expose yourself to the possibility that you're not good enough, or you didn't make it, or you didn't qualify. And if you end up making it, you get that triumphant feeling of like accomplishment that helps propel you forward to take on bigger, newer challenges.
Not only that, like the preempting failure, or like, accepting beforehand that or making excuses beforehand for why you didn't do it. I feel like that's such bullshit. And I've done it so much in my own athletic career.
I'm so full of bullshit.
you get done and it's like a day or two later and you're explaining to someone why you did. Oh, I didn't do well because it was this, that, and the, and in the back of your head that it's total bullshit.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. There's the headspace about getting into the top 10%. So what, Kyle, welcome to this open edition. Can you tell us general observations, what have you seen biggest mistakes? Like what would you tell people to correct?
Okay, so this is for my own client base, which tend to be people that are, they're getting through both sets of handstand pushups or deep into the second set of handstand pushups. But I think in general, people are overestimating their capacity on strict handstand pushups under the level of fatigue that they're experiencing in this workout. It's the same thing that happened with people and their muscle ups in
Yeah.
week one, right?
Yeah.
Like week one, the best strategy was like do small chunks on a repetitive clock, unless you are just like a muscle up god.
Yeah.
The same is true here for handstand push-ups, unless you're someone who can just repeatedly rip off, 50
Sets of
unbroken.
5 or
No,
yeah.
like
Oh, 50
your
unbroken.
fresh, like your fresh set is like, 40 or 50
Yeah.
unbroken. Then you're going to need a good strategy for breaking these.
Yeah.
And even people whose fresh set is 50 unbroken, someone like Noah, like
He broke it a lot.
he broke it a lot.
and had a great score.
And I have people who have tried to use the same, whose capacity there is way lower than his, have tried to use the same breaking strategy that Noah did, and it's just clearly a giant mistake.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is above top 10% in terms of performance. So we'll kind of start here and go down to, I guess, each threshold. But just to jump onto that point, I have people that can do 30 plus, and I thought 5s in the first set was going to be relatively conservative. And by the end of that, they were already blown up. They went 5, 5, 3, 3, 2, 2, and deviated from plan after 2 sets. So if somebody's there, people are always like, well, I only have to do 20. I can do 12 unbroken. Let me start with 6. It's like, no, that's way too much, because it's way too much density and your shoulders are tired from all the other movements. So I think overly conservative on what you would expect for the first handstand push-up set.
Yeah, I did exactly that. So my max rep set right now is about 26 or 27, and I did 4s on a 20-second clock and was able to hold that all the way through through the second one to the last 3 sets. I had to do 2, 2, 2 to finish it up.
Yeah, and you finished the workout.
I finished the workout, but a lot of that was just because I can cycle 225 snatches really well. So I think that's like a different discussion, but I think that the discussion there, especially to apply to people that are, on that 10% cut line, it's if you can do 5 strict handstand push-ups, there is no point in doing a set of 3 to open up.
Yeah.
It's not getting you deeper into the workout. It's just making it so you're going to accumulate less across the overall workout. And so my biggest tip for this is to choose a sustainable, and when I say sustainable, I literally mean sustainable. Like if my max is 28 and I did 4s, that's sustainable.
Yeah.
Choose a sustainable amount and do it on a clock. Even if it's 1, do 1 every 15 seconds.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention, I've been thinking about this to try to make sure we give the best information possible to the athlete, is when we talk about clock maintenance, it's very hard for you to also pay attention to your own clock in the middle of a workout. So if you're going to be on a clock, I recommend having a training partner where you walk them through your strategy and then highlight, okay, this is the point that I want you to tell me. Or like every time I kick down off the wall, like Adam was counting for you when you were doing that,
He would tell me, he wasn't counting. He would just basically say, you go at the 17.
Okay.
Now,
so he's watching the clock and
he's
doing the math for you.
And he was not my judge.
Yes.
Right. So I had a judge and I had, my coach, which is my coach, but like I had a person to basically keep me on track as I was going.
Yeah. So the reason I said that is I've seen little Instagram clips of people like being in a workout and like really looking at a clock. And I was thinking of it more for like power cleans. And I'm like, if you're on a 6-second clock, you don't want to be like doing a rep looking at the clock, like just kind of stay focused and try to find a 6-second rhythm. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there.
So the other thing that I would add for people that are on that kind of 10% cut line, they may be people who are struggling more with the 135-95 bar, which is the second barbell in the workout. And one of the best strategies that I've personally found, because I used to really struggle with cycling lighter barbells. I've gotten a lot better at it. And part of me getting better at it is, number one, making sure that I'm as relaxed as I can be for each rep. Like if 135 is, say, 60% or 95 is 60% of your 1 RM
max,
then you should not treat every rep as a 1 RM.
Yeah.
And so going in and staying as relaxed between reps and during the rep as possible, and then clustering them.
Yeah.
Right. Even the way I thought about it, and this one is I was doing, I don't remember if it was 8-7. That probably was for the first set, but something like that, like chunking the work into smaller, manageable sets in my mind, where it'd be like I do 8 and then step away and then come back and did like 4 more or whatever it was to get to it was 12 at 135.
Yeah.
But something like that, just having clusters, even if it's like 3 and I'm going to step away from the bar, 3, stay with the bar, step away, 3, stay with the bar, step away, like having a rhythm and getting yourself and making it almost as cyclical as possible, I think is really beneficial in some of that early work.
When you're talking about struggling, are you talking about struggling, like managing their energy in that set before they get deeper in the workout?
Yeah. Okay. I don't mean like struggling to snatch 135.
Got it.
I mean, struggling like the accumulated fatigue of the first set, and then the set at 95, 135, fatigued them going into the handstand push-ups. I think that's the other place that you can kind of find, time later on in the workout, even if you go a little bit slower there. Like I worked out splits for some people to kind of just make it so that they could get through and not be super fatigued there. And you don't have to go that fast on the first 2 barbells in order to give yourself enough time to stay on a consistent clock when you get to the strict handstand push-ups, assuming you have some capacity there.
Yeah. And then I guess people that are in that higher threshold that are repeating it, I think miss snatches in the last, whatever their last bar is, whether that's the 3rd bar or the fourth bar, eliminating those or trying to eliminate those is important. And I don't know what the best strategy for that other than like you have to develop your own intuitive sense of when you can make a lift when you're under fatigue. Like, oh, I can go now. And I guess the only caveat that I would say, or something that I know is important, is having the right mindset when people are lifting under fatigue, trying to control your focus and thinking about making the lift, standing up the lift, finishing and executing the positions, not, oh my God, my shoulders are tired, or oh my God, my lockout feels good. It's trying to control the narrative in your head when you're in those moments. Unless some people don't have a narrative in their head.
Yes, I do know, but that's a very small percentage of the population.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but I talked to David Bradley, one of our on-site guys, for a long time because he rode with me yesterday to go watch Jake Berman do it.
Oh, cool.
So we were in the car for a while when we were going, and I was talking to him I was asking him what was going through his head when he was on the 225 snatches, because he missed a handful of them. And, he was like, oh, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, he was thinking about getting amped up. And I'm like, okay, when I'm fatigued and I'm trying to hit, a 225 snatch, I'm going the opposite direction than you are. Like, instead of trying to get as ramped up and amped as possible, I'm just going through my cues, and like my cues to make sure it's a successful lift, or like in the setup, I need to set up vertically. Like I just need to find some spinal extension. Travis is similar. Like if he doesn't find spinal extension in the setup, he's going to miss forward. Yeah. So I find my spinal extension, then active arms. And if I do those 2 things, it's like 99% likely I'm going to hit the lift. Yeah. And I just try and stay calm and go through those things. And when I did it yesterday, the crowd was starting to get me really amped up, and I was like, hey, everybody calm down. I need to stay calm here because I got to stay focused on my cues. But I think that's for people to hit, especially a super technical lift like a snatch under fatigue, they really need to be on top of their cues. Yeah. Right. And you need to have those for yourself. And if you don't have them, that's something you can do in warm up. And so that was going to be my other point, is that I think a lot of people have been like, oh, I don't want to warm up to the heaviest bar I plan to hit and warm up because it might take away my confidence, or I don't need to because I'll be warm when I get there. I think that's a huge mistake.
I agree, because it's a huge jump from the last bar.
It is.
125 to 155, so 30 pounds over 155 is a huge percentage overall, 20% jump or something like that, bigger. And then 185 to 225 is a pretty big 40-pound jump again. Yeah. So it's going from like a pretty low percentage of somebody's 1RM up to like, okay, now you're above 80 or above 90% of somebody's max.
And for a lot of athletes, it's going from below body weight to way above body weight. And that makes a huge difference. Like most people struggle to power snatch, for example, over their body weight. I say most people that are in that range. That right there, not being able to throw your body weight against the bar, means that bar, when you do get it overhead, it's going to be moving you around instead of you controlling where it's at. Like there's a big difference when, the bar weighs a lot more than you do. So you're going from a lighter than body weight, potentially second to last bar, to the last bar
well above.
Yeah.
All right. So that's people repeating in the 9 to 12 minute bracket. Then there's the 6 to 9 minute bracket, which is where the top 10%-ish people are most likely going to be able to finish. So within there, what have you noticed, like when people are getting bottlenecked, like what's the major mistakes or the major things that you think in a redo I can get better at this?
Okay. So one of the first things I noticed yesterday after watching Jake go, and Jake, I'm not going to say what his time was, but right now has one of the best times that has been turned in the world. And his wall walks and double unders for the first set took him a minute. Like he was done right at a minute. And when I watched James and Perrin do it, they were also done with the wall walks and the double unders right at a minute. And as I was driving back and talking to David, and I was like, it was kind of odd to me that James and Perrin were out at world record pace for the the wall
Are you
walks.
calling our coaches out right now?
I recognize that people were like, oh, I only have the 6-minute window to get through this. And like, granted, you do have to move relatively fast to get through there, but they were going at the same pace that the people who, you know, Noah has his video up, like as fast as the world record pace to get through the first part of the workout. Like, I'm not sure. And I did the same thing. So I think in hindsight, it was probably a mistake, but I'm not sure it's the best strategy here. Like, relax.
Sorry, I just burped into the mic. I agree. So I think one way that you can think about getting through that a little slower is even if you want to move at a quick pace, because when you're fresh, sometimes it's nice to not have to throttle your own natural excited movement pace down, is maybe do a set of 3 wall walks, stop for a second, shake your arms out, or like just de-stress your arms, 2, then get up and do your double unders. Another thing is people think like, oh, it's only 50 double unders, which translates anywhere from like 20 to 30 seconds of work. So they don't think it's that big of a deal, but it could for somebody that's going to be going to singles in the handstand push-up set of 20 in the first one. It could be really beneficial to just do 25, 25, or even like 20, 15, 15 in real small sets, just to give your shoulders a little bit more recovery time. Because every single movement in this pumps your shoulders up in the beginning in those first 2 rounds. Wall walks, shoulders, double under, shoulders, snatch stabilization, shoulders. Then basically the same thing again. And then it's like, all right, now do handstand push-ups. Now do like the hardest gymnastics movement upside down with your shoulders tired. So anywhere you can get a little break in there can be beneficial. And if you just put a 5-second break inside the wall walk, a 5-second break inside the double unders for 2 sets, your net 20 seconds down there might allow you to be on a faster clock for your handstand push-ups when the workout slows down.
I think most of success in that first set of handstand push-ups for people that are going to get bottleneck there is getting there and not being gassed.
Yeah.
And I think what you're talking about is you actually just laid out 2 of the points in the workout that I think are the best to take rest.
Yeah.
During the wall walks, your rest can literally be you laying on the floor.
Yeah.
Like there's no other thing that you have to do. Like come down from your third one. You know, if you're going to use the strategy you said 3-2, come down from the third one, keep your hands on the line, and then rock back to your knees.
Yeah.
Right. And just sit there for a second and, you know, catch a couple of breaths and then do your next 2 and then go to the double unders. Yeah. A break in a double under is so fast. It's not like a wall ball where you have to drop the wall ball, let it settle, go squat down, you know, go through all that. Or a toes to bar where you have to drop off, you know, you have to jump back up and reset the kip, or a muscle up, which takes even longer. It's literally, you stop,
step over it and go. Yeah.
And just that second to get a full breath, to like drop the tension out of your body, it's going to pay off so much when you get to that, when the clock is like at 8:40 and you're trying to do quick singles on your strict handstand push-ups so that you can get just enough time to go and get 1 at the barbell.
Yeah. And your psychological state, if you kick up and your first one's like, oh, that was easier than I thought, versus you get there and you do your first one and you're like, oh, and you have to grind it out, that just sets up like, oh man, I got another 19 of these to get through when I don't feel good. So if you can set yourself up for that first one, I was also telling people for their first lift when they got to the heaviest bar, think about it like a 1 rep max, because all your stabilization muscles are fatigued. So even though it might only be 80% of your 1 rep max, your body relative to what your fatigue threshold is might sense that as being near your max. So you have to be very technical and very precise and try to manage your fatigue as much up to those points.
Yeah. So I think to that point, just to make sure we're clear here, like I said, stay as relaxed as you can. 95, 135 bar or the 65, 95 bar for females. When you get to your heavy bar, it's not relaxed.
No,
it's calm and focused, but it's a 1 RM.
Or ramped up. Like David might actually be better off trying to ramp himself up emotionally, but he's still going to need technical cues about how to keep the bar in the right spot. Like what do I, not a million of them, but what's the thing that does it? Like, is somebody need to be like, okay, squeeze the bar tighter or activate my lats, or, you know, whatever it is for your specific movement patterns that works for you in your mind.
Yeah. And I think part of that comes with experience and being on the cut line here. you may not yet have that experience, but it's a great opportunity to mess around with it and warm up and kind of come up with some of those cues.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing that I was thinking about. So we've walked through how to create rest within the wall walks. We've talked about how to create rest within the double unders, and those are great places to take it. Then I think the other mistake or potential mistake that people made would have been going too big in their touch and go sets on the first barbell.
Yeah.
Right. So like you watch the demo and you see Mal and she goes unbroken, and it's like, oh, sometimes you get lured into it. You're like, oh, it's 65, it's light. I can do that unbroken. Well, so can the other, top 10% athletes, but that doesn't mean that you should be doing that unbroken. So I think, looking at that, and even so the most logical is 15 reps. Oh, let's just do 5, 5, 5 and you're done. You can move on. But even a set of 5, like, sometimes that last 1 or 2 reps, you can feel the accumulated fatigue starting to build up. So why not just do 3? 3, drop, 3, drop, 3, 5 quick sets of 3. It's not like you're taking rest between them. You're doing 3, dropping the bar, getting a breath, grabbing the bar and doing the next one.
You're just eliminating one like eccentric lowering of the bar per time you drop it. And if you have a good drop, you can basically drop, follow it down, breathe, and go. It doesn't need to be a quote unquote break. It's just kind of a change in technique.
Yeah, I think that's an easy place to find some rest in the workout, again, to set you up so that when you do get to the strict handstand push-ups, that you're just a little more fresh and you can keep a tighter, rhythm or a tighter clock when you get there.
Yeah.
Then the other one I would say is when you get back to the second barbell, the 135/95. There is absolutely no reason for you to go touch and go. And we broke this down. So anybody that's part of like the TTT Compete or an individual client, we send out that strategy sheet, right after the workout. And I timed out how long it took Mal to go touch and go sets on the second barbell and how long it took Danielle to do singles. And it was a total of like 4 seconds difference.
It's just not worth it.
Not worth it at all, unless you are literally trying to set a world record. And it turns out that if you're in the 10% cut line, you're not trying to set a world record, and the accumulated fatigue from going touch and go is not going to pay off when you get to the strict handstand push-ups, which are the bottleneck of the workout.
Yeah. So then for the handstand push-ups, there's not a lot you can do to improve right now. That's a gymnastics skill. You need to put a lot of time and work into your positions and your long-term training. But what you can do is figure out in your execution where you made mistakes. So if you go back and you actually say, okay, well, how long did it take me to finish these 20 reps? And how linear was it across? Did you have 10 reps done in the first, 90 seconds, and then your next 10 reps took you, another 3 minutes? And that can give you some understanding of how to distribute the reps out. And you just take that total time that it took you and reduce it by a really small margin. And maybe try to cut 20 seconds off of it or 30 seconds off of it, and then make your reps kind of linear throughout that time. So if it took you 3 minutes to do them, try to make it 240, and 240 is 160 seconds. So you're doing 1 rep every 16 seconds, or maybe you have to say kick up every 15 seconds or something like that, that allows you to try to stay as close as possible to that rhythm. And then know that maybe even if you set that strategy, you might get close to failure at the end, and then you just got to figure it out.
Yeah, and at some point you may have to deviate from it. I think you're speaking to a really important point here, and that's that a lot of people, especially less experienced athletes, get stuck in this idea that they need to do bigger sets. They're like, big sets are sexy, right? Oh, I did it unbroken, right? That's cool and that's sexy, but it's also not the fastest way to get it done for most people.
Yeah,
small sets, small rest. Like, number one, you're going to recover as you're say that.
Yeah, your heart rate's going to kind of recover.
Exactly. And that was going to be my other point, is when you do get to the handstand push-ups, assuming they're a bottleneck for you, if you're listening to this and you're going to be repeating it, the handstand push-ups were probably a bottleneck.
Yeah.
What are you doing when you're resting between the reps? Right? Like, are you kicking down and still carrying tension and are you tight and your blood pressure's elevated, or are you kicking down and relaxing and like trying to drop all the tension from your body and let yourself recover as fast as possible between those reps? And I think that's another thing that people don't do well, is they don't manage their rest in terms of a clock well, and then they don't manage how they're resting.
Like body positions.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, like in this workout, since a lot of people are going to have to put their thumbs on the tape line, on their hands and knees and then kick up, well, then when you're coming down and resting, I saw in my video, I went with Lydia, one of our on-site athletes, and she would come down and rest with her hands on the line, hands and knees, and just like very relaxed. And then she would kick up again from that position. And it's like, that's such a good resting position. And it's such a natural position to go into in this workout, because you do have to keep your hands on that line. And like that, I was like, man, I should have rested like that instead of what I was doing, kicking down, standing up, going into the bottom of the squat, putting my elbows on my knees and huffing and puffing for a couple. And then I look over at her and she's just like calmly keeping her hands on the line, resting, sitting in that kind of like rocked back position. And then it was time to go. She'd kick up and do her next set.
Yeah. One other thing. So we mentioned in the first video that came out that you have this line to make sure you hit the standard, get your fingers on it, and then kick up. Some people had a really hard time. I don't know if it's because of their hamstring mobility or how they kick up, that going from that kneeling position or from the low position is hard, and they need almost momentum to kick down to the line. So if that's you, I think you just need to figure it out. Just kick up and just make sure your thumb's on there, and know that it might take you an extra second or so to get each rep started.
Yeah, to be clear, I didn't start from that kneeling position.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I started from standing, but I mean, I'm used to training inside of a box, so I'm pretty used to getting my hands where they're supposed to go. There was something else I was. I lost it.
Gone.
It was obviously so important. Because I lost it.
All right, so I think that's it. I think that's everybody that would be repeating it. If it's somebody that is below that threshold and it's somebody that's getting capped in that 6 minutes, then I'm guessing it's the last weight of the barbell. And again, I don't know if there's something you can do to just like randomly get your snatch above 135 or 95 pounds. It's just, if you're making the attempt to repeat, maybe it's because you missed some of them. In that case, try to make all your lifts.
Yeah, there's no magic. Unfortunately, there's no magic we can give you that's going to make it so.
There's a couple things. You might be able to find some of those like fake weights online.
Oh,
I don't know if you can get them Prime, Amazon Prime.
Here are some things that you can do. You can find
Amazon
fake
Prime.
weights. Yeah. You can use the thickest gymnastics mat imaginable and
bounce off of that?
No, I was thinking for handstand push-ups. And use your neck as a pogo stick, and you'd be good. You'd rip right through those handstand push-ups.
This is why people
maybe take your shoes off.
No, it's not allowed.
Yeah, but like have like socks that look like shoes.
Have someone paint shoes onto your feet.
Yeah.
That'll lighten you up.
This is going to be all the illegal advice we're passing off.
Just get some other guy to do your snatch and then edit him in.
I got a really good one. If you're struggling with a handstand push-up standard, you just take your thumb tape and wrap it out to like 6 inches past. So you have 6-inch thumb or like 12-inch thumbs, and
so
then
your hands can be out here when
you're
doing handstands.
And you're going through the same range of motion as.
What are you talking about? I just have huge thumbs.
These are just my normal thumbs, guys.
Yeah. All right.
All right, 23.3. This is your final chance to move up into the top 10%. And no matter what, when you're done, the Open's over. If you finished it and you actually stayed mentally disciplined to finish it strong, well done.
And come back Monday, because we're going to have that podcast where we talk about what to do after quarterfinals or after the Open. What are we talking about, Max? We already filmed it.
Yeah, we're talking about thoughts overall about the Open and all the Open workouts. We're talking about quarterfinals and what to do if you didn't make it, and what to do if you did make it.
What are your thoughts on this workout, Max? I know you've filmed a podcast on it, but I haven't gotten to talk to you about it.